The Rain Bride of Hollow Creek. A Kentucky horror story, United States. Hollow Creek, Kentucky was the kind of small town that looked perfect on a postcard. Rolling green hills, old wooden houses with wide porches, a church at the center of town that had been standing since 1887. Neighbors who knew each other's names and their parents' names and their grandparents' names going back 4 generations. But when the summer storms rolled in off the mountains, when the sky turned that specific shade of gray-green that meant serious rain was coming, the people of Hollow Creek did something that no outsider could understand. They locked their doors. They pulled their curtains. They told their children to come inside immediately and stay inside until morning. Plowed with rain. Because everyone in Hollow Creek knew about the Rain Bride. Skull. It was a Thursday afternoon in late June when it started. Old folks sitting on the porch of the general store, watching the sky. Children running through the grass in the last of the afternoon sun. Bobby Hayes bringing his cows in from the east field. The whole town moving in its ordinary rhythm. Sun. Then the wind changed direction. The temperature dropped 8 degrees in 4 minutes. The clouds came over the mountains faster than clouds should move and turned the sky from blue to the color of a bruise. The first fat raindrops hit the dust of Main Street, and within 60 seconds, it was a downpour. Cloud with lightning. Get inside, get inside. Someone shouted from the general store porch. She's coming. The Rain Bride is coming. Everyone get inside now. Hollow Creek emptied in under 3 minutes. Every door in town closed. Every lock turned. The streets went from full to completely empty between one heartbeat and the next. Skull, a man named Daniel Webb, had been driving through Hollow Creek on his way to Lexington when his rental car's engine gave out on Route 9. He had been in the car for 6 hours. His phone was at 11%, and now it was raining so hard he couldn't see. Dark and vanished. Hotel management dismissed it as trauma. Rachel knew better. She just didn't have proof yet. Scene 3, the night manager's warning. 2 nights later, the elderly night manager, Mr. Calloway, who'd worked at Savannah Manor for 40 years, pulled Rachel aside. You found something in 214, didn't you? Rachel nodded, unable to speak. This hotel has a history, girl. Things that happened here before either of us were born. I've seen 3 housekeepers quit in 20 years over that room. The smart ones left and never came back. Why didn't you warn me? Because if I told every new hire, nobody would ever work here. He pressed an old brass key into her hand. Basement door, beneath the laundry room. Whatever's happening, it started down there. I've never had the courage to look. Maybe you should, before it finds you first. Scene 4, the box. The next afternoon, cleaning a forgotten storage room, Rachel found a wooden box tucked behind broken furniture. Strange symbols covered its surface. A circle, an eye at its center, handprints radiating outward. Inside, old black and white photographs. One stopped her heart. Robed figures in masks, standing in a circle. In the center, a woman suspended in the air, bound at wrists and ankles. Headless. On the back, one word. Offering. Shaking, Rachel brought everything to the detectives. The box, the photos, Mr. Calloway's key. Scene 5. The sealed business. Following the brass key, police found a steel door beneath the laundry room, sealed since 1941. They broke it open. Inside, the same symbols covering every wall. A stone altar at the center, surrounded by human bones. Forensics dated the bones at 70 to 80 years old. Wedged in the stone, they found a leather journal. The journal told a horrifying story. In 1931, a secret society of wealthy Savannah families had performed ritual sacrifices they called the offering. Young women bound, suspended, and beheaded in this very basement. The final page held one. Listen to the rain hammer the roof, and watch the empty streets of Hollow Creek through the windshield, and thought about what a strange place this was. Then he heard the bells. Skull. Not church bells. Not wind chimes. Something smaller. Something ankle height. The kind of sound that comes from decorative bells sewn onto the hem of a dress. Rhythmic. Deliberate. Moving through the rain. Daniel rolled down his window slightly and looked out. The street was empty. The bells got louder. Then a voice. Low, wrong, coming from directly behind his car. Time to go. The laughter that followed was not human. Daniel didn't remember making the decision to get out of the car. He just found himself standing in the rain with the door hanging open and something pulling him backward by his collar, and the last thing anyone in Hollow Creek heard was his voice cutting off mid-scream. Face screaming in fear. By morning, the only evidence that Daniel Webb had ever been in Hollow Creek was his rental car, still parked on Route 9, driver's door open, interior soaked through, with deep drag marks in the mud leading away from it toward the old Hargrove ruins at the edge of town. His body was never found. Skull. The Hargrove ruins had been the central feature of every Hollow Creek nightmare for 30 years. They sat at the far end of Creek Road, the collapsed remains of what had once been the grandest house in 3 counties, burned to the foundation in 1994 under circumstances that the official report called undetermined, and that every Hollow Creek resident called something else entirely. Don't go near the ruins. Every parent in Hollow Creek told every child from the time they were old enough to understand the words. Don't go near the ruins. Don't go near them in the day. Never go near them at night. Never go near them in the rain, anxious face with sweat. The town council, led by Mayor Gerald Stanton, who had held the position for 22 years, reinforced this with official policy. No trespassing signs, a chain-link fence, an ordinance that made it illegal to be within 50 feet of the property after sunset. It's a safety issue, Mayor Stanton said every time anyone asked. The structure is unstable. We don't want anyone getting hurt. Nobody pointed out that the structure had been a flat pile of burned rubble since 1994, and there was nothing unstable about it. Nobody pointed it out because Mayor Stanton was not someone you pointed things out to. He had been mayor for 22 years and intended to be mayor for 22 more, and in Hollow Creek, that meant something. Faced with steam from nose. The season of weddings in Hollow Creek began in June. It always happened this way. June brought the storms, and the storms brought the rain bride, and the rain bride brought death, specifically the death of bridegrooms. Every summer, when a wedding was planned in Hollow Creek during storm season, the groom would be found dead by morning. It had happened 4 times in the past 8 years. Each time Mayor Stanton had explained it away. Tragic accident, heart condition, wrong place, wrong time. Each time the official version held because Mayor Stanton made sure it held, and because the people of Hollow Creek were afraid, and afraid people don't ask hard questions. Skull. A woman named Beverly Hayes had grown up in Hollow Creek and moved away to Cincinnati for 15 years and come back to take care of her aging mother. Her daughter Kayla had come with her. Kayla was 27, had a graduate degree in environmental science, and had been away from Hollow Creek long enough to find the town's collective terror of rainstorms genuinely baffling. Faced with steam from nose. I need you to understand something, Beverly said to Kayla the first night of a summer storm. When the rain started, and Beverly began pulling curtains and checking locks with the systematic efficiency of someone who has done this many times. When it rains like this in Hollow Creek, you stay inside. You don't open the door. You don't open the windows. You stay in this house until the rain stops, and then you wait until morning. Mom. Kayla. It's rain. I know what it looks like. Anxious face with sweat. Beverly's eyes were not the eyes of someone who believed in fairy tales. They were the eyes of someone who had seen something and had been living with the weight of having seen it for a very long time. Kayla stayed inside that night, but she sat at the window and watched. Kayla's fiancé was a man named Marcus Cole. He had driven down from Cincinnati to meet Beverly and see the town where Kayla had grown up. He arrived on a Wednesday in July. A clear day, hot and bright. The kind of afternoon that makes Kentucky look like the best place in the world to live. Beverly liked him immediately. She could see why Kayla loved him. He was steady and kind, and he listened when people talked, and he helped with the dishes without being asked. Smiling face with smiling eyes. She told him about the rain bride on his first evening there. She told him plainly and directly because Beverly Hayes had learned that with some things you have to be plain and direct or people don't believe you. Marcus listened. He was polite about it. He asked a few questions. He didn't laugh. But Kayla saw in his face what she recognized as the look of someone being respectful of a belief they don't share. He doesn't believe you. she told her mother quietly in the kitchen. I know, Beverly said. Neither did you until last summer. Broken heart. The wedding was planned for July 15th. Kayla had wanted to wait until September when storm season was over, but Marcus's work schedule made September impossible, and Kayla's grandmother's health made waiting longer risky. July 15th it was. The morning of the wedding was beautiful. Sun everywhere. Not a cloud. Beverly checked the weather forecast 6 times, and it said clear through the weekend. She allowed herself to breathe. Cherry blossom. The ceremony was at the Hollow Creek Church. 40 guests. Local wildflowers. Marcus's parents had driven down from Cleveland. The whole thing was simple and honest, and exactly what both of them had wanted. During the ceremony, Beverly kept looking at the sky. It stayed clear. The reception was in the church hall. Music, food, dancing. Beverly drank 2 glasses of punch and let herself believe that maybe this time it would be fine. Smiling face with smiling eyes. Then at 9 p.m. the sky outside the church hall windows turned green. The first thunder came 10 seconds later. Beverly was on her feet before the sound faded, face screaming in fear. Marcus! She found him on the dance floor. We need to get you inside. Somewhere locked. Right now. Beverly, it's just a storm. Marcus, I need you to trust me on this exact thing right now. Where's Kayla? Kayla was already looking for him. They found each other at the edge of the dance floor. The rain hit the church hall roof like something thrown. Everyone stopped dancing. Then they heard the bells. Outside, in the rain, getting closer. Fearful face. Several of the older Hollow Creek residents who had been having a perfectly good time became very still and very quiet all at once. The way animals go still before an earthquake. The children in the room, who had been told stories their whole lives, pressed against their parents without being told to. Lock the doors, Beverly said. Loudly, clearly. Someone locked the church hall doors right now. Nobody moved fast enough. Let's go. The doors opened. Not both of them. One, the left side only, opened inward slowly and completely under no visible force because there was no wind inside the church hall, and whatever had opened the door was not wind. The rain bride stood in the doorway. She had been beautiful once. The white wedding dress, 1990s style, full skirt, long veil, might once have been pristine. Now it was the color of old paper in some places and darker in others. Her dark hair hung in wet ropes across her face. The ankle bells on the hem of her dress were the sound that had followed every rainstorm in Hollow Creek for 30 years. Her eyes when she raised her head were not the eyes of someone who had been at peace. Ghost. Another wedding, she said. Her voice was the sound of rain on old wood. Another bride. Another groom. She looked at Marcus. Come with me. No, Kayla said. She stepped between the rain bride and Marcus, face screaming in fear. The rain bride looked at Kayla with an expression that went through several things quickly. Surprise. Recognition. Something that was almost curiosity. You're not from here, she said. I grew up here, Kayla said. I've been gone 15 years. I came back. She kept her voice steady through considerable effort. And I know what this looks like. I know what everyone in this room thinks this is. But I've been standing at that window watching the storms come in for a year, and I don't think you're a monster. I think you're someone who was hurt very badly and never got justice for it. Broken heart. The rain bride went completely still. My name is Kayla, Kayla continued. What's yours? The church hall was absolutely silent. 40 people holding their breath. Marcus behind Kayla with his hands on her shoulders. Beverly standing 2 feet to the left ready to do something. She wasn't sure what, if she needed to. The rain bride looked at Kayla for a very long time. Sandra, she said finally. The word came out like it had been held in for a long time. My name was Sandra Hargrove. Crying face. The story came out in pieces. Sandra Hargrove had grown up in the grandest house in Hollow Creek. She had fallen in love with a man named Thomas, a good man, a kind man, a man who worked at the mill and had nothing but was saving everything he made. They had planned to marry in July 1994. Broken heart. Mayor Stanton, who had been a much younger man in 1994, newly elected, building his power in the way that men like him build power in small towns, had wanted Sandra for himself. He had wanted the Hargrove house, the Hargrove money, the Hargrove name. Sandra had refused him. Repeatedly. Clearly. Without ambiguity. Pouting face. 3 nights before the wedding, Gerald Stanton had arranged it with the particular cold efficiency of a man who had decided what he wanted and had no real relationship with the concept of other people's rights to exist. Thomas's body had been thrown into the dry creek bed east of town. Stanton had told Sandra that Thomas had run, that he had left, that he had never intended to go through with the wedding and had simply disappeared. Sandra had not believed it for 1 second. She had gone looking. She had found things she wasn't supposed to find. And when she confronted Stanton with what she had found, Stanton had burned the Hargrove house to the ground, with Sandra inside it. Skull. He told everyone I died in an accident, Sandra said. Her voice was steady, but her hands, both of them pressed flat against the church hall doorframe, were shaking. He told everyone Thomas had run away and I had died in an accident, and then he made sure nobody could ever get close enough to the ruins to find what was there. Thomas is there, Kayla said. Thomas is there, Sandra confirmed. And so am I. What's left of us? The church hall was perfectly silent. Beverly Hayes had her hand over her mouth. Next to her, Marcus Cole, who had driven from Cincinnati and was supposed to be at his own wedding reception right now, was looking at Sandra Hargrove with the expression of a man whose worldview has been fundamentally rearranged in the past 5 minutes. Crying face. Where is Stanton? Someone in the crowd said. Everyone looked around. Mayor Gerald Stanton, who had been at the reception until approximately 9 p.m., was no longer in the church hall. He left when the storm started, someone said. I saw him slip out the side door. Kayla looked at Sandra. He knows you're here. He always knows when I'm here, Sandra said. He's been running for 30 years. Not tonight, Beverly Hayes said. Face with steam from nose. What happened in the next hour involved most of the adults of Hollow Creek moving through a summer rainstorm in a way they had been terrified to do for 30 years. Sandra moved among them like water, present, impossible to ignore, occasionally visible and occasionally not. The bells on her dress rang steadily. Gerald Stanton was found in his office above the town hall, locked in, with the suitcase half-packed and his car keys in his hand. He had been mayor of Hollow Creek for 22 years. He had built his position on a foundation of silence and fear and the burial of 2 people in a burned ruin at the edge of town. When Sandra Hargrove walked through the locked door of his office, he made a sound that was not quite a word and pressed himself against the far wall. Sandra. Don't, Sandra said. Her voice filled the room completely. The rain against the windows matched her rhythm. Don't say my name. You lost the right to say my name 30 years ago. I can explain. No, Sandra said. You can't, Skull. What Sandra Hargrove did to Gerald Stanton in that office. The people of Hollow Creek who were gathered in the hallway outside heard, but did not see. It lasted approximately 4 minutes. It ended with a sound that nobody in that hallway would ever fully describe to anyone outside Hollow Creek. When the door opened, Kayla walked in first. Gerald Stanton was on the floor. Alive, technically. Breathing. But the man who had been mayor of Hollow Creek for 22 years, the man who had run this town through fear and manipulation and the burial of secrets, was looking at the ceiling with the expression of someone who had been shown something they could not put back. He confessed to everything before the sheriff arrived. He confessed without being asked. He confessed the way people confess when they understand that there is nothing left to protect. Face without mouth. It took 3 weeks to properly excavate the Hargrove ruins. Kentucky State Police supervised. Forensic specialists came down from Lexington. The bones of 2 people were found in the foundation. DNA testing confirmed what Sandra Hargrove had told the people of Hollow Creek. Running for cover. Plowed with rain. Nobody ran. They stood in it. Let it fall on them. Some of the older residents, people who hadn't voluntarily stood in summer rain in decades, put their faces up and closed their eyes. Smiling face with smiling eyes. Kayla stood at the grave and felt the rain on her shoulders and listened. No bells. No laughter. No voice from somewhere wrong in the dark. Just rain. Just clean, ordinary, Kentucky summer rain falling on a town that had been afraid of it for 30 years and was finally allowed to stop. Gerald Stanton was convicted on 2 counts of murder in the first degree and sentenced to life in prison without possibility of parole. His trial lasted 11 days. He did not contest a single piece of evidence. The Hargrove property was purchased by the town of Hollow Creek and turned into a small park. A bench was installed at the center of it with a plaque that read, "Sandra Hargrove and Thomas Bell, remembered. Broken heart." Kayla and Marcus finished their wedding reception on August 3rd, on a clear and beautiful night, with every person in Hollow Creek in attendance. Beverly danced. The children stayed outside after dark. Nobody checked the sky, smiling face with smiling eyes. And every summer when the rains came in off the Kentucky mountains and the sky turned gray-green and the thunder rolled and the streets of Hollow Creek filled with the smell of wet earth, the people came out of their houses. They stood on their porches. They let the rain fall. They watched the lightning over the hills, and they did not lock their doors. Because Sandra Hargrove was not coming back. She was somewhere else now. Somewhere with no more unfinished business. Somewhere with Thomas. And in Hollow Creek, Kentucky, it rained. And it was only rain. Dove. The end. Ghost.